Good morning, friends. I'm Toni Cureton, and welcome to another episode of Job Alert. Job Alert helps you make a job connection by providing you with solid leads for available employment and training opportunities throughout Michigan and the Metro Detroit area. Job Alert also provides you with monthly career readiness and basic employability information, along with tips of what employers are looking for to prepare you to get that new job. You can catch Job Alert premieres every Monday at 10 a.m. on our My Virtual Academy Facebook page and on Instagram. Today on Job Alert is our career readiness segment, and we're going to provide you with some tips on interviewing, whether it's by phone, in person, or by video. So, as you prepare for an interview, it is important to consider the interview types as much as the interview questions. Phone, video, or in-person interviews all have differences that you should be aware of as you approach each scenario. Human resource departments, their managers tell us that most companies will conduct an initial phone interview first. And if that goes well, a second phone interview or a video interview may follow. And then finally, they will probably invite you in to the company's main office for a site tour and an in-person interview. So, when you're having a phone interview, when a phone interview is being conducted with you, you want to know what role does it play in the hiring process. Many companies, they will contact a candidate by phone who's looking good on paper, meaning their resume, and they want to determine if the candidate actually would be a good fit. So they will contact you initially by phone and have a brief interview with you. If you do well, if it goes well, then you'll probably have another interview scheduled that will go in more in depth in the interview process. This first interview, this first initial phone interview is called a phone screen. Many companies use a phone screen with a recruiter as the initial step in the hiring process. This is critically important part of the job search for you because the recruiter will ask you about your background, your skills, and your experience, and they want to know whether or not you will actually line up as the ideal candidate for the position. The initial phone interview will be pretty much like a meet and greet, and there will be discussions about, like I say, your work experience, your skills, so you need to be prepared for that. If everything goes well in the initial phone interview conversation, the recruiter will move you into the next phase. But if they come away with a poor or an incomplete impression of you, then things probably will not likely progress to the next stage. The next stage of the interview process is also typically conducted over the phone as well, or it could be a video conversation. You could be on camera, via Zoom or Microsoft Teams. In this phase, you'll likely communicate with the hiring manager or another individual on the team that's doing the hiring for that particular department. This interview is usually more in-depth than the first initial interview, the phone screening. And as the interviewer, they will have deeper, more developed, accurate knowledge about the position and what is expected of the person that will fill that position, what qualifications that they will need so that they'll be successful in the role. That's the second interview. That person will know what qualities you need to have as a candidate to be hired for that position. Both the initial interview and the second interview, the phone calls usually last around 30 minutes. You need to consider this interview as your opportunity to sum up what's most attractive to you about the position and the company, as well as the skills and the qualifications that you bring to the table and to the position. Some phone interview tips include making sure that while you are on the phone interviewing, your main goal is to do so well that you get that face-to-face interview. You need to keep your conversation progressing towards that point. Take the initiative and ask, upon the completion of your second interview, take the initiative and ask, hey, I would really love to come in and meet with you in person and tour your offices. When do you think a good time to set up an appointment like that would be? Take initiative, people like, hiring managers like to see that in candidates. Next, you should be prepared. Research the company, review their website and their social media, and any recent activities that might have taken place within their company. And doing this only helps you to be able to talk to them during the interview process. They want to know not just what your skills and your experiences are, but they also are trying to make sure that you're a good fit within their company and their company culture. They want to know that you're enthusiastic about working there, and they want to know that you're interested. So if you research their company and if you find out what their values are and what their mission is and what kind of organization they are, and you provide this information in your interview and you ask questions that are relevant to this information, it only sets you up to be a good candidate to be hired, to get that third in-person interview. Next, if the interviewer calls you, make sure that you smile, that you're happy and enthusiastic, and you say, well, why? What's the big deal? Well, because when you smile and speak, it can be felt and heard in your voice when you're talking to someone. So when they're talking to you on the phone, make sure that you're answering back and you're smiling when you do it, because it exhibits a passion within you. It exhibits your interest in their company, and it will put you in a position where they're more likely contact you and have you come in for the in-person interview and hire you. And that's the objective. Make sure that if hiring managers, if they contact you by phone or email, return the call, return the message immediately. When you immediately respond to them, if you are not available to answer the phone, when you immediately respond, it shows your character, your work ethic. It shows your interest in the company and how motivated you are. Next is the video interview. Out of necessity, video interviews have become a medium for employers to connect with potential candidates. Although it may sound simple enough, understanding how to participate in a video interview and ensure everything goes smoothly takes some preparation. You should always make sure when you're going to have a video interview that you have a good connection with your computer, and test your equipment. Make sure your internet connection and speed is up to the task of a video interview, because if your video stutters or freezes or skips, or your audio fades in and out, that's not really good in a video interview. Um, it indicates that your equipment and your internet connection is slow. And you certainly don't want your video call to be dropped in the middle of your interview. So test your equipment out. Make sure your internet speed is accurate and working properly. If you are video interviewing, it could be a very good possibility that video conferencing will be a part of your position in the job. And you don't want to exhibit that your equipment, your webcam, your computer are not what would be sufficient to work in their environment. So test your equipment out, test your webcams and your microphones and your computers before you have your video interview, to make sure that everything goes smoothly when you are actually in the interview. Next, you want to consider what's behind you when you are on camera. Wherever you decide to set up your webcam plays a huge role in the quality of your overall presentation. Try to choose a quiet area with sufficient lighting, and make sure that what's behind you isn't distracting to the interviewer when they're speaking with you. If you're at home, make sure that everyone in the house knows when and where the interview is taking place, so that they don't cross into your screen and you can avoid distractions. You should also make sure that you dress for success. Although the interviewer will likely only see you from the waist up, dressing professionally in professional attire is the best course of action. You want to represent yourself in a professional environment, and you want to look the part for the role that you are applying for. Next, you should practice talking into your webcam and role play and ask yourself questions and answer them, because when the interview actually happens, things are going fast, and if you're not mindful, you could wind up giving the interview where you're turning your head or looking around, or moving, making movements, and you don't want to do that. When you are on video, when you are on camera, you want to be poised. You want your posture to be correct. You want to be centered, and you want to be looking straight into the camera. That way, the interviewer can see that you're prepared, that you're confident, that you're not nervous. And these are things that they're looking for when they're trying to determine whether or not they're going to hire you. Well, you've made it to the in-person video. You've made it to the in-person interview. When you are in person, potential employers will typically give you a tour of their facilities, and they may introduce you to department managers and staff. During the in-person interview, they will typically lay out more details about the position that you are applying for and the company, and they would like to see if you would be a good fit by bringing you to the environment that you'll be working in, so that you can acclimate yourself. They will also explain to you what will be expected from you in the position that you are applying for. They will also talk about compensation at this time, and salary, benefits, what the potential growth is in your role, in your position, and the requirements for the position, and talk about your schedule and being on time when you report. Some tips for in-person interviews would be to make sure that when you come into the facility, you treat the staff with courtesy and respect, because companies often value the opinion of their staff and will listen to their observations. Make sure that you smile and that you show enthusiasm. Candidates are hired mostly because of their personality and their positive attitude, along with their skills and experience. If you can exhibit enthusiasm and positivity, that will go a long way for you when you are trying to get a job. They also want you to show sincere interest in the hiring manager's situation by clearly understanding the situation that the company may be in. They are hiring you for a position, which means that there is a vacancy within that company. And that vacancy could have been caused by someone leaving the company and moving on to a different position in a different role somewhere else. Or the company could be growing and the demand is so great that they can't accommodate and fulfill it. And so they need to reach out and plug in an additional person to help handle that load. In either case, you have to think of the hiring manager's position and be empathetic about it and express that empathy when you're talking to them and when you're being interviewed. Because if you express that you understand that it's important for them to find a person to fill this spot because, you know, they have a vacancy, that will help them realize that you truly would be a good candidate for the role and the position that they're hiring you for, because you're showing that you see the problem that they have and you want to help them resolve the problem by being the person that they hire to fill the position. Also, if you're interested in the position, let the hiring manager know. At the close of the interview, say something like, I just want to let you know that I'm very interested in this opportunity and I'm ready to take the next step, whatever that would be. How do we proceed from here? Saying things like that, expressing confidence in your ability to fill that position, that will take you a long way. Hiring managers like to see that. So, as with any interview, you have to prepare yourself ahead of time to answer all of the questions in a concise manner that highlights your accomplishments and addresses how you would be of benefit to the employer. Always be polite, even if you find that you are not interested in the position after all, after having the initial interview or the second interview. You find, you know what, I'm not really interested in it, even when you're not, and they contact you again for the third and final interview. Be polite, speak to them and express, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate this chance to meet with you and network with you, and explain that you are no longer interested, but if in the near future you can work together, you would be more than happy and willing to do so. And then make sure you listen well. And above all, always keep your interview experiences professional. You have to be professional at all times. You have to exhibit yourself in a professional manner. Well, friends, that is all my time for today. Thanks so much for tuning into Job Alert. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My number is 586-842-0558. That's 586-842-0558. Again, my name is Toni Cureton. Thanks so much for tuning in, and everyone have a great day.